What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days to be a part of our show. And before we get into the crazy, juicy topics about vendor, about content creators and videographers going at it head to head, I want to know about each of you. So if you guys could just describe or say who you are, what region you typically work in, and what is your favorite drink. So first, let's start with Steven here.
Hi, I'm Steven from Dorn Films. I do wedding videography for weddings, obviously. And I am in Orange County, but we're all over from San Diego all the way up to Santa Barbara pretty often. And my favorite drink is whiskey straight.
Oh, dang. He's just taking it straight.
I don't like to mix it all up. Our job's stressful. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to Vivian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vivian from Vivian Hana Socials. I'm a content creator, mostly weddings, but I also work with businesses as well. My favorite drink, I'm a baby, so I'm going to say lemonade, any strawberry lemonade. Lucille's has the best strawberry lemonade. Anything sugary and sweet is my jam. And location, I'm in Los Angeles, but I travel everywhere. So I've actually been down in San Diego quite often and Santa Barbara as well. So yeah, I'm everywhere. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice. I first thought you were going to say hard lemonade, but a little lemonade. That's nice.
No, a literal lemonade, like lemon, sugar, water, lemonade.
All right, Adam.
All right. I'm Adam. My company is Mooncrest Media. We do photography and video for weddings, events, and all that. We service mostly SLO County. I live in Morro Bay. But I'll go wherever you take me. And my favorite drink is probably a whiskey sour.
The whiskey boys over here. I like it. All right, Letty.
My name is Letty. I am based in New Jersey, but I work all across the tri-state area. And I am a wedding content creator, but I do also work with vendors and other photographers, videographers, and businesses. And my favorite drink would definitely be a mojito. I love mojitos.
That's what I'm talking about. Jay loves a good old mojito too.
Yes.
All right, guys. I love it. Now let's get into the juicy topic. So like I mentioned before, this is going to be a discussion based style. So once I say the question, you guys could take it away from there. Actually, I'll pick someone and then that person will start it off and then everyone else should jump in. All right, here it goes. So what do you believe is the root cause of the controversy between wedding content creators and wedding videographers? Let me start with Letty here.
Did my face say it all? I'm not quite sure. I will say I've worked several weddings so far. I've been in the industry of content creation for the last 13 years, but new to the wedding industry itself. And I do want to say that although my perception was it was more female dominated, I was completely wrong. I feel like more of the videographers are males. You guys are extremely talented. I've actually mentored with several videographers. I'm so sorry. I've mentored with a few videographers, but I will say the controversy must be the fact that we tend to get in the way, or maybe it's because we're new to the industry. People think that we're not conscious or aware of how to stay out of the way. And so that's what I'm thinking might be the issue. I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not really sure. I will say it's disheartening because I love video and creating content, and although it's completely different than I believe videography, they do coincide. So I don't know, maybe we should ask a videographer.
I'm gonna say, come on, Steven, I see you thinking over there.
So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is that content creation is so new. Video is pretty new in the industry to where it's at now. Took a long time to for people to figure out it's here to stay. And, content creation came out of nowhere and it's blown up. So I think everyone's just adjusting. And I think content creation is great. It's great for the vendors, great for everybody. But I think everyone's trying to figure out their roles. And so For us personally, we don't really see that big of a like tension between content creation and video. We're more fly on the wall documentary style the way we shoot. So I feel like for a more A-type cinematic filmmaker who wants to curate the day, I feel like they have more problems with content creators. But I've had pretty good experiences overall, personally.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, it used to be photographers would be like, oh, videographer. Oh, no. Now it's
Right.
like photo and video. They teamed up and they're like, oh, a content creator. Like, get out of here. You. No, that's cool. What do you think, Vivian?
Yeah, I'm like laughing in the background over here. Yeah, I agree with what Letty said. I feel like that is a discrepancy that I've heard, but I feel similarly to, what was your name, Chris? Sorry, I missed your name at the beginning, with the headphones, but I kind of agree with what he said.
Yeah, Steven.
Yeah, Steven. Yeah.
Steven. Yeah, I agree with what kind of Steven's sentiment as well, where in real life, like I feel like I hear more of like the tension in podcasts and online, but in real life, when I'm working with people, I feel like we all kind of get it. And maybe it's just like how you work, right? It's like, I agree with you, Steven. Like maybe the more cinematic people, it might become more of an issue. But when you said like documentary style, that's kind of more like my style as well. I know for content creators, like TikToks, like the trends is a big thing right now. But I personally don't execute those, like unless a bride asks me for those. Typically I'm like you, where I'm more documentary style as well, so I feel like I haven't run into that tension. But I also feel like I try to get ahead of it, where besides the planner and the bride, obviously the first people that I introduce myself to is the media team, and I just like try to be nice and smiley and, you know, explain like, hey, like what I do, it's all iPhone behind the scenes content, just because sometimes some of them have never even heard of a content creator before. So they're like, is this like their cousin, sister with an iPhone? Like, who is this girl like coming here? She's wearing black, so I think she's a vendor. So what is this? So like I almost feel like sometimes like the analogy that I make is like, sometimes I feel like we're like the new stepsister, like the new cousin. We're like, accept us. And like, so I get it from our side, of course. Like I agree with you, Letty. It's disheartening when you're like not accepted. But at the same time, I could also see like maybe like it's just new and disruptive, and some people just, you know, need some explaining on what it is. So
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. And when you mentioned about the style of the way how you guys film, I think that's where the controversy comes into play. But we'll get into that a little further. Adam, what do you think? And also, since you're a photographer too, does that affect photography?
Yeah, I hate to sound like a hater of the content creators.
Start off strong.
Anybody, but yeah, you're getting me right into it. I do see, like, I see the value of it for sure, especially in today's world where everybody's like, we want to share fast. And, you know, like you just had your wedding, you want to get that out there. And if you've made it a point to not have your cell phone out all day, like it's great to have that content from that content creator. So I totally get that. From a photography, videography perspective, it's kind of annoying, I guess some people think. Like, so I'm not saying this like as just personal opinion or anything. No offense to you guys, but it's a lot, not annoying. It's a lot to have somebody else extra kind of just following you around all day. And I think where the controversy comes in, and this is actually something I've experienced, not personally, but from other people in the industry telling me about it. Like you, as a photographer, if you wake up the next day and there's your couple posts a whole bunch of pictures from the content creator, but you're tagged under there as one of the vendors kind of thing, like I can see how people can get confused as like, who took these pictures? It says this is the photographer, like, are these his? And they're just cell phone pictures, you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where the controversy comes in, is like, as a photo and video, we want our stuff to be out there first. And obviously when you're on a cell phone, you're getting it out there quick. Like you're just taking all day and then you send it right over. So yeah, I think that's where the controversy comes in, I guess.
Yeah, but I think that kind of comes down to also like us having to step it up too. If someone's if a photo is going to look better on a cell phone than what you can do with your camera or a video. For instance, I've had a lot of times where obviously content creators are dumping all their stuff the day after, the day of the wedding. It's like if they can't tell the difference between a cell phone and like my video, then I'm doing something wrong. And that's kind of how I feel about like when it comes to like how quickly they put out content.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like though with photography, it's so much easier for a cell phone to emulate that than it is for it to do it for cinema. As for like, because as you know, Stephen, with cinema and Adam, you guys know there's so much in the behind of it. You got your
Right.
LUTs you put on, you got your music, everything that makes it stand out so much more than a photo itself. Like a photo, we, you know, put a little bit of sauce on it, but then the cell phone could almost make the same thing. I don't think it could copy video. That's like it's a whole different. You could tell when it's a cell phone video for one.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but
There's not, there's not a lot of comparison. I think it's just more of like the wanting to be visible. Like everybody just wants that instant gratification, I feel like these days. So
Yeah. Well, I think that's why
But it does
content creators
force
that
us
came
to-
out.
yeah. But it also
Right.
forces us. I see it as a good thing because it forces us to also be faster, because it used to be like your average wedding video or something comes out like 6 months after your wedding. And
Right.
now you realize, okay, why do people want to wait that long? Like,
Yeah.
let's get this video back to them as quickly as possible. And I think that's just another reason to kind of step our game up as well.
I do want to add though, so going back to what you said, I do agree that it is a lot at the forefront of like having so many different vendors together. But I do just want to clarify, like we aren't really following photographers and videographers. We're there as a paid service, and we're also following the bride and groom because we're a paid service as well. And so we're required to capture the bride and groom. And so we just have to kind of work together, right? It's like going into like corporate, going into an office. You don't really want to sit next to a cubicle besides your coworker, you know, you have to because you're getting paid and it's part of the job.
Right.
So we aren't necessarily following you guys. It's a paid service and we have to be present. And so we have to capture the bride and groom. And that's basically as straightforward as it gets. I 100% agree. It is very, very intrusive and it's very sometimes really anxious and chaotic, right? Depending on the bride and groom, the energy, we already know it's a day that's thousands of dollars are spent, hundreds of people are there. And so the bride and groom and their energy is already going to get heightened and we want to make sure we're performing. And so our energy is also going to get heightened as well. But that's none to say that we're just like, you know, following the photographer and the videographer. We're getting paid. It's a paid service. So we have to be there to follow the bride and groom as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is huge. That's huge. Go for it, Adam.
I was just going to say, I've only worked 2 weddings with content creators so far, and I didn't notice them there. You know what I mean? Other than every once in a while, at first it was like one of you was saying earlier, like who's this girl following me around with a cell phone? Like hardly noticed her there. So yeah, I'm not saying like for me it's been annoying because I don't have a lot of experience with content creators yet.
Yeah.
But this is just the things I've heard from other photographers so far.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think people are really just trying to get a grasp on like, oh, I'm doing all this work to put them in poses and things, and then the next morning I wake up and a picture of that pose is on the internet. You know,
Right.
I don't really see it, not the edited version maybe, but it just kind of, I don't know. I think people get bummed out about that maybe.
And I
Love
feel
it.
like right now with content creators, I've worked with a handful of them in the last 2 years, and they all seem to be a little bit different. So like Vivian was saying, she doesn't, you don't like to do the TikTok poses. Some do. Some are more documentary. Some are actually posing the couple and shooting decor as if we were shooting decor. And so I've seen kind of an array of different content creators and their styles, and actually talk to them about it. So I wanted to hear, like, well, why did you shoot it like that, or what makes your business want to do it like that? And so it's kind of, I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes in, is because it's such a new, you know, industry. people are just trying to figure their way. I mean, I felt videography was like that 7 years ago. It was the same thing. I felt they didn't know what they were doing. There wasn't as much education as there is now. So I think that's where the growing pains are for everybody, including the content creators themselves. I feel like I've heard so many different kinds of ways that they do it. Some mute their audio when they give it to the clients, some leave the audio. It's like there's all kinds of different things. Some people just drop it, some people curate it before they drop all the files the next day or whatever. So I feel like there's no full structure yet. There's not that much education on it. And so I think that's where, like, with Adam's experience might have been different, or what he's heard, than some of our experiences. But then we had a close photographer friend to us where they had a content creator hired by the couple, and that content creator brought a film camera. And this was a film photographer. The film photographer, who's a good friend of mine, was telling me how she set up the shot, and that person took the film shot of it before she did, delivered it like 5 or 6 days later, and it was before the photographer, and it was a huge issue. She had to talk to the couple about it. Obviously, it's in her contract already, but what can you do at that point, right? And so I can empathize with, like, Adam, what he's saying in that sense, and I have heard of that stuff like that happening. So I think that's where a lot of the discrepancies are going on right now, where people are a little bit more hesitant to work with a content creator, or what that's like.
This is huge. And before we keep on going, because we could go on for days with this one topic, I would like to move over to this next one called role overlapping. Jade, what do you have?
So how do you differentiate your roles on wedding day when there's so much similarity in the type of content being produced?
Anyone could jump on that.
How do you differentiate your role?
Yeah, this is really big. And I think Steven mentioned somewhat like it when he said he was shooting, say, like a decor or a dress hanging, and then the content creator comes and does the same thing. So how do you make yourself different from the videographer?
Angles. I'm just going to jump right in. So and this is just from my viewpoint, so you guys can just interject if you need to, but in terms of content, right, I understand videographers, you guys tend to capture the more clean, straight shot, or sometimes you guys do get creative and you guys do shoot for angles, depending on whether or not you're more of a documentary, organic kind of videographer. But for content specifically, like, again, like, we're a paid service. And so if we're all there, the photographer, the videographer, and the content creator, obviously the photographer is going to shoot the same exact image, but it's just going to get captured in the form of a video for a videography. And in content, a completely different genre, it's also going to get captured. They're just different takes, right? You have a photo, you have a video in your professional videography film, but then you also have the same clip, if not just a little different angle, different kind of texture. Maybe it's filtered, maybe it's not. And they all just go hand in hand. So that's my take on that, right? So of course the bride's going to want a photo of the dress, as the videographer is going to capture a video, but so should the content creator, right?
I'll jump on that as well. I guess, like, also to jump off of my response earlier, like, I see this response as two, like, you differentiate how you edit, like what you're saying, Letty, and then, like, on the day of, like, so for example, on the day of, that's, I think, what I was trying to say earlier, where when you introduce yourself to them, you kind of, if there is any tension, or even if there's not tension, just why not, like, be friendly? Just, you could differentiate your role then and say, hey, I know your photo, your video, or typically, or like your photo. I like to, like, joke around and say a cute little, like, I'll just be your shadow today. And while I'm documentary, and I agree with you, Letty, I'm not, like, following them around. I am a paid service by the couple. I that's my little joke that I like to say, just to be cute. And I'll just be like, I'm your little shadow for the day, just because also it works out with my documentary style. I agree with Letty that, like, we're obviously shooting the same stuff. Am I saying your name right, Letty? Like that, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, perfect. I don't want to, like, keep saying it, mess it up.
No, you're good.
So I agree with Letty, where, like, if we're shooting the same stuff on the same day, then obviously it's going to be the same thing. But, like, how I differentiate myself is, like, on my iPhone, I tend to like not just shoot in one. I kind of zoom into three and I lower my brightness a lot. Like I have a style and like video might want to capture like the cinematic romantic la di da, but I like make sure to whip around and get like the bridesmaids like goofing off and like all the behind the scenes, raw, candid, unedited, like all of that. Like if there's any, I guess, discrepancy on the type of content, like if you look at my page, I still try to make it beautiful, like the reels. I want them to feel something. I want it to be emotive. But the raws that they get and everything that I try to capture, I still try to be like funny and like all of these like kind of like unedited moments. So I guess there's two ways. Like you could always differentiate yourself with people in the industry by letting them know, but then you could also differentiate yourself, I guess, with your style, because at the end of the day, I think that's where it gets tricky. Like I don't know how else to say it either. Like, yeah, we're all shooting the same stuff. And so how do we make sure we give respect to everyone there? And I feel like, yeah, everyone has a different style. Like even between content creators, like I have a different style than Letty. Videos, you all have different styles from each other. Same with photo. And so like we all got hired on for our style. So I think the similarity that I would see, just being straight up, is video and us. But even between us, the style is so different. Like I tell everyone, like I think you should have it all. I think you need photo, video, and content creation. Because the iPhone stuff, like yeah, it's like I can create something cinematic, but it is a little bit different. It's a little more behind the scenes. If you wanted that movie vibe, it's different. So I feel like all of our styles already speak to the differentiation. So just, I don't know, like hone in on your style or, you know, elevate your style, whatever it is. But I think there's a lot of ways you could differentiate. Sorry, I don't know if that's answering the question. I'm getting long-winded.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I feel like in my circle of vendors that we work with, that's the big question everyone's asking right now is, are content creators creating content or are they BTS? Because originally we thought they were coming in as BTS, which is perfectly fine, you know, coming in, getting people getting ready, even getting shots of us shooting, whatever, the planner putting stuff together. And then it seemed like it started to change to like they were more like a video team, which is perfectly fine. That never bothered me, but that's one thing that we talk about in our circles, trying to understand who's BTS or what is content. And I think because so many people it's so accessible to pick up your cell phone and jump in and start doing it right away. I think it has more room to change, you know, really quickly because there's more people involved, just like with like video. To start a video business is you do need equipment. You know, you can't just start on your phone and then, you know, be like, oh, I'm going to shoot a whole wedding with 4 phones and different angles. And you know what I mean? So it's like a little different. So I think because the barrier of entry is a little lower, and which is great for content, I feel like there's so many more people involved and they can redefine it. And so it's getting redefined constantly all the time. And I think that's where kind of like the question that she had about what's the overlap? What's the difference between all of it? And I think that's listening to you too. It sounds like you have very defined ideas of what you're doing, but some content creators don't. I've talked to some that they're, you know, this is their first couple months in and they're booking weddings like crazy, which is great. And they're trying to figure out what is the meaning of their, you know, of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like what Vivi, you were saying. The way you were describing your way of shooting, it sounds like what a content creator is. You know, it's like very documentary. You're turning around, you're getting all the stuff that normally video and photo won't be paying attention to. And I feel like and then you also get what they do pay attention to, but I feel like that is what I thought a content creator is. And then now, like how Stephen was saying, when they come in and some direct, like if it's not for like a trend, TikTok or IG thing, and they want to direct the couple like how the photo and video team does, I think that's when we're just sitting back like, what's happening here? It's
but I think that comes out to how new it is, right? For instance, we get referred by photographers all the time because we work well with a certain type of photographer. So a photographer that wants to lead more of the day and wants us to be more of like a supporting role, you know, those are the photographers that are usually they're shopping us out to the clients. So I feel like with content creators, it's the same thing. Once, like I have a couple content creators that I refer only because I work with them well. So I feel like just because they're the new kids on the block. I mean, with the wedding industry, I think we all know that it weeds out people that don't want to play as a team. That's the whole thing in the wedding industry is we're all team players, and we just have to figure out where we fit in that right now, you know?
Yeah, and I agree. I will say, like, I have had some of the best experiences with photographers and videographers, and I have had some of the worst shit experiences with photographers, which blows my mind because I've gotten along so well with videographers. But it's these photographers, like, one time I was there and I was asking questions. This photographer completely ignored me, huffed and puffed and walked away. You know, I'm also a paid service. And one thing I will not do is apologize for being in the same room. Like, there's plenty of room for everyone to film. And I'm not going to downgrade and kind of like make myself feel like, oh yeah, I'm here for support. Because no, I'm here to do my job. I'm getting paid.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is something we still run into with some photographers.
It's awful. I don't know how you guys have done it for so long. Jeez.
Well, usually for us, I mean, we're 7 years in, and there's still times we walk up to a wedding and we work with someone we've never met before. And usually the first hour and a half, sometimes it can be a little bit dicey. You know, they don't know what kind of,
that's my question.
Who knows?
Ego?
I think it's ego. I also think photo has been carrying the torch for like the media side of weddings for way longer than any other form of media. So I felt like when video first started, I'm not talking about video where like your uncle puts up a big camera and leaves it running for 4 hours. That was like back in the 80s and the 90s. Like that's what video was. It wasn't really as serious of an art as it's become now. I feel like as video started growing and becoming more accessible and the technology started changing, I felt like there was a huge shift between photo and video, and photo kind of going, they might be taking some of our budget, or they're going to be taking some of our shots or our time. And now we got to manage this other person. And video is coming in and doing kind of what content creating was doing, kind of just like, okay, people want us, we're here. Like, I don't know what kind of like videographer I'm going to be. And then, you know, we sit down and go, I want to be this kind or that kind. And so I feel like now it's like a third person coming in and they're like, oh God, another one. That's the vibe I've gotten from a lot of photo. But I'm just to talk to you personally. I mean, even to this day, we still have photographers that will walk in the room and they kind of look at us like, oh God, is he going to be a problem? And within about an hour, they're really cool with us. Some of the people that have done that to us, even recently, became like great friends of ours, and we work with them all the time now. So my advice is just, you just got to kind of muscle through it. And there's a lot of proving yourself in the wedding industry. I mean, that's going to be constant. And each level you move up in the wedding industry as you charge more, and you kind of have to keep doing that. And it's an annoying part of our job, but you know, it's just so, I don't want to say clicky, but it's so, because everything's such a team effort. There's people that are like, this photographer might have got in with this planner and worked for 7-8 years to get in with that planner. And then you come in and they might be jealous, or they might be like, we have this good thing going on and now you're in here. Now I got to look good in front of this planner and the team when I got to work around your energy. So I think there's a lot more to it than it's like very black and white, like, oh, they're just jerks. You know, and so that's just how we personally handle it. We come in there and we just do our job and we lay low for a minute, and then usually within an hour or two, and they see how helpful we are, and we realize it's, you know, we're one team. We're a media team. When a client sees you, sees me, sees a photographer, they're not going to know that we don't work together. They're not going to know we're not the same company. They're only going to see us with a camera and say, oh, that's part of the media team. So what you do, what I do, what the photographer does, that affects our outlook towards like our clientele.
Right.
And that's what we got to remember is, you know, like, so I try to keep all that stuff in. Like if I'm at a wedding, I'm not going to be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Because everybody's watching you, you know, and that's like, that's like the hard part about weddings for sure.
Yeah, no, I've worked a full 10-hour day with a photographer and have not said a single word. Like it, and I will not bash any creator because that is just not who I am. But she is a very, very well-known photographer in the New York area, and I was so excited. I was like a little kid. I was just so excited and honored to meet this woman and just like ask her so many questions and just like, you know, get a feel for her creativity, because she is remarkable. I would never downgrade that. But she was just not nice.
That's unfortunate.
I will say. And it was very heartbreaking. But
What's your 2 cents, Adam?
I was going to say your problem right there is just the city photographer. They're a different breed.
it's that New York. It's that New York, New Jersey.
The New York vibe, East Coast.
Anytime we get an LA photographer, we're like, oh God, what are we dealing with?
Oh, God.
Or Santa Barbara one. No, I'm just kidding.
There was a couple good points though. I think a lot of it comes down to like style too, though, because for us, me and my wife are a photo video team, so we don't really have to deal with this a lot. But on top of our photos and videos, we also make our own reels and stuff for couples. So we've got basically all of it covered. So in our case, like it's the only 2 weddings I've worked with content creators were actually when I was working with other photographers. So, you know, personally, like the way we've set it up is our clients come to us for everything they want out of their wedding. And I think it sounds like in some cases, like TikTok and Instagram's obviously like really big these days. And for photographers, I feel like it's taken away the art of photography, because everything's about those quick turnaround videos now and little reels. And even for videographers, like we post full wedding videos on Instagram. We don't do that anymore because nobody watches them after 30 seconds. So everything's just about making reels, making behind the scenes stuff. So I think content creators definitely like have a place like in that flow, because trends are always going to be there and people are always going to make money on the trends. But photo and video, I don't think that's going away any longer. In fact, with video, I feel like people are leaning a little more towards long form kind of documentary style again, because the content creators are coming in and making these reels and things like that. So we're actually gotten a lot of couples this year that are like, we really want more of our ceremony in there, or all of our toasts, you know, like instead of these 5-minute highlight films that have been really popular for the last few years. So so it's all going to be trends, and I think everybody has their place in those trends.
Dude, that's crazy. I never even thought of it that way. So the content creators are actually making us make more money. So we could be like, all right, we're going to just charge more for these longer films that you guys.
And we have content creators that get us jobs now that will refer us to the client who's like, you know, I can only afford this much for like a content creator. And then, but they're like, well, but we do want video too. And then they'll push for us. Like, you know, it's worth it. Hire Steven and his wife. They'll come and do it, check out their stuff. And it's like, so to me, it's another team member. It's another networking thing. Like we get all of our work from referrals. We don't do any advertising. So for us, it's huge. The more people we work with, you know, and honestly, like I look at it as positive as I can. I try to see like, what are they doing that's maybe different too? We've been shooting more documentary style in the last couple of years. And I think because that's the way things are kind of changing now that there's so much content, there's so many eyes, there's so many clips out there. I think people are realizing, I also think it's the pandemic too, right? I think the pandemic made it so that people really wanted to capture every moment they could. And I feel like that's another thing. Like, so I think trends are changing. I think people's tastes are changing. And so it's kind of pushed us to be more creative and capture more and less. Like we used to be a little bit more cinematic and just do all the perfect shots, all the pretty shots. And now we're catching all the in-between moments. And then it's actually been more fun for us as creatives too.
This has been amazing. And I know we could go forever on each topic, but I want to get into another one. So I want to get into quality versus quantity. All right, guys. So is there a debate about the quality of content produced by videographers versus the quantity of just the rapid pace of content produced by wedding content creators?
Is there a debate, or isn't that the beauty of both? Is that like we fill in the fast turnaround?
Well, and that's a good way that you mentioned that. But then also like what Steven and Adam were saying, it's like sometimes you post the photos or all that before we even get a chance to do anything. And then we're just like, what the heck? Now our stuff is going to be less excitable when the client sees it. So,
But it should be.
Can I ask a question then? Because I feel like I'll post the question to photo and video. Because personally for me, I still feel like as a content creator, I don't see like the value of video or photo being less. Like I will always push both to my couples. So that's where the disconnect is for me personally. I'm like, I still feel like even if we put this stuff out the next day, I'm like waiting, foaming at the mouth to see the video and photo.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, why? That's where I'm kind of like, I will stand up for my fellow content creators where I'm like, there's room for us all. Like, that's where, honestly, yeah, it takes a while to get the sneak peek from y'all. So that's why we're here. That's why we were birthed. But I'm still like, no, what's framed in my home is the photos that my photographer took, you know, like, like to your point, y'all are still here forever. So I guess that's my question to you guys is like, I'm still foaming at the mouth, like I said, for your stuff. So like, I don't know why us having it the next day is like an issue. Besides, I kind of get that if you have a style, and I understand that, but even then, I'm like, then why isn't photo and video getting mad at each other for shooting the same thing? Just being super straight up, like I'm just like I'm like confused. So like, just someone tell me.
I think it's personal. I think it's each company it's completely different because I've heard different things from different people. Us personally, we had an experience where we did a style shoot. I was super excited about it. There was a content creator on it. She's great. And she was first time I worked with her. She was shooting all the stuff we were shooting. She put out a little reel the next day. And I reposted it because I was just being a fellow vendor. I had so many people reach out to me and were like, wow, that was so good. And I was like, oh yeah, that wasn't me. That was this content creator, you know? And it didn't bother me because I knew what I was going to make was going to be different. So I put out my own like a couple weeks later. And then, you know, that content creator reached out to me. She's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, it was so nice working with you. I'm so like, I love how you did this and this and that. And yeah, she was next to me while we were doing shots and I was trying to be creative, but it didn't bother me. And I know some of my friends it bothered. They were like, why are you reposting that? And I was like, well, we're a team. And the whole point is I used to put out teasers the next day. That was my thing for years. I'd shoot a wedding. I'd put out I'd stay up all night, the like beginning half of the day, the next day, and just make a teaser. And people were excited and they were super into it. Now we take about 2 weeks for a wedding. Sometimes maybe a week, but we tell them 2 weeks. And I don't feel any less like it's hurting our business at all. We don't even get much business off of Instagram anyways. So I feel like our business is a little different. I have friends that book huge jobs off of TikTok and Instagram. So I think for different people, it affects them differently, but that's personally our business. That's where we're at. So
yeah,
let's hear it, Letty. Adam, let's hear it.
I was just going to say, I kind of try to look at it like, again, I don't take any of this personal either because I haven't really dealt with it, but I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of like regular people too. And if there's one thing I've learned over the years is that like a normal person that doesn't do photography or videography or whatever, 9 times out of 10 can't see the difference in a cell phone video and like a camera I just spent $5,000 on. So I mean,
like really, because I disagree. Like respect.
I disagree with that. Yeah,
I respect. That's why I'm like,
yeah,
they can tell the difference. I'm trying to give y'all props. Like we can't do no matter what. Like an iPhone can't do what a DSLR could do. It looks so different, and people could tell. Maybe like grandpa can, but like everyone else can tell. Like honestly, even grandpa can tell. You know, an iPhone video when they see one. You know,
so. We can tell, but we also are all in it. And there's movies made now with iPhones. Like the cinematic mode on iPhone is sick. And if I really had to, like I know people that have shot scenes on their phone because their camera was not working or whatever's going on for the moment. And you can flip that right in there and people can't see the difference. So I just see it from like the untrained eye. And I think that's where people are just having a hard time grasping that technology is moving fast. And again, like trends change and with technology. And so I mean, personally, as a photographer, videographer, I worry about where the industry will be in like 10 years with all the AI, the new camera, like cameras just keep getting cheaper and cheaper, and more people can get into photography, which is great. But I've seen kind of the decline over the years of like the appreciation for the art of it. And it's more towards that instant gratification than it is the art, which there's still plenty of people that appreciate their prints on their walls, and not to say they don't, but like I'm in my in-laws house right now, and half of these pictures up here are off their cell phone. So it's, you got to kind of see where the technology is taking us as well. And I think it has a lot of people worried that way too.
Yeah. So that is all valid. I 100% agree. And I can see your point of view in terms of technology and AI and everything else. But I will say a lot of that also kind of determines on taste, right? So a good example would be a lot of videographers. Like if you go on YouTube and you look up videography films, a lot of them are going to be like very clean, cinematic look. Not a lot of them are organic or timeless in terms of what you see on Instagram in the form of a reel, documentary style. I've had videographers reach out to me to have them send them my, like the portfolio that I deliver to the client, so they can add on extra clips from an iPhone 15 Pro Max because of the different quality, to give it more of a true documentary editorial kind of vibe, including their own film on their Sonys or their Nikons or the Canons. So I think a lot of that just has to do with taste, style, and so forth. But I definitely do agree with technology. That is really scary. Technology is scary. So yeah.
I love it. I love how these topics just blow up and everyone gets wild. I love that.
Yeah.
Technology.
All right, so yeah, technology is crazy, and it's just going to make us all invalid soon. So let's get into.
I don't think so.
I was just playing. Yeah, let's
I
get
think
into.
they always want someone to pay someone to do it for them. You know what I mean? Especially in the wedding world.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, no one's going to want a robot or a drone to shoot their whole. They're going to, maybe people that are like, I can't afford, you know, a videographer at all. Fine, but like I think people that have like an average size wedding, yeah, they're going to want someone to like take photos of them and make them feel special that day.
Yeah, when it comes down to the wedding industry, yeah, when it comes down to the wedding industry, you can't replace the human touch, and I think that's what makes us all unique in our services is the human.
Plus, content creators can't sell photo albums. You can't make an album of all verticals, right? So.
Oh, watch. There's going to be some digital something coming.
Oh, God.
It's like a long album.
Like a real
it's like a menu at Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming.
One photo per page.
Don't give
all
away.
right, guys. So I want to get into now collaboration and competition. All right, Jade, take it away.
So, and we've kind of already sprinkled this throughout the conversation today, but how do you guys see the relationship between content creators and videographers? Is it more collaborative? Like, can it be collaborative, or is it still competitive?
Anyone jump on that?
Based on my experience thus far in the tri-state area, it is very competitive. It's so competitive, you guys. It's so heartbreaking. Oh, I get so annoyed and then sad. Yeah, with content. Listen, I will say, whoever said the word clicky earlier, the first thing that came to mind was content creators within itself. They're clicky. There's a lot of competition amongst each other, and that is in itself is so ugly and jarring. But within videographers and wedding content creators, when we we mesh. Like, we do a really good job working together. But in terms of like other, and Vivian, you can jump on it if you have to, girlfriend. But I think it is so clicky within the content creation space. Okay. I think the videographers and the photographers have been in the industry for so long. They know how to tolerate, respect, maintain their composure. In terms of content creators working with other content creators, or content creators working with photographers for whatever reason. I'm not sure what the issue is with you photographers, but it's very clicky. and it's really ugly. So Vivian, you can hop on in if you have anything to say.
Well, I made the analogy earlier of like we're like the ugly stepsister or like the ugly new cousin that's like coming in and like banging open the door. It's like I think it's super, and it's kind of what we're saying throughout this whole conversation. It's very personal. Like, are you close with your ugly stepsister or not? It's like, it's like, do you vibe well or not? Like, you're gonna have good experiences with some people and not so great experiences with others. I mean, yeah. What is it called? Collaboration over competition.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
100%.
It's a hard question to answer because it's just so personal. Because I honestly, there's like some people who are like my ride or dies, and like Letty said, like when you mesh well, it's like you found like your soulmate best friend, and it's so fun. So I think it's just a matter of like, I don't know if it's content creator specific or media team specific. It's just we're a new role, disrupting the industry a bit. And so are you someone who is adaptable and can pivot well and can take change? Then yeah, you're going to be down for it. If you're someone who just needs to like suss it out a little, like in my personal life, I'm not so gung-ho. I'm a little bit like, I need to take time to make decisions. So if you're like that, I can see like maybe you need to work with a couple content creators for a bit. And maybe the first two that you worked with were really bad. And so you're just like, I hate them all. So it's just like, I think it's probably personal to each person. And I'm probably giving a very politician's answer because I don't know how to answer this question otherwise, but it's hard. Obviously, yeah, it's like Letty said, it's disheartening when you don't work well with people. And there have been times where I've been so excited to work with people and it sucks. But me personally, like I was a wedding planner like many years ago. So I feel like I've had some like wedding experience. I feel like I came in knowing some things of how a wedding day worked. And I know people don't like saying there's a hierarchy, but like I believe that planners hold the key to the kingdom and you should probably respect them. So things like that, I feel like I knew how to work some things. So like maybe I kind of knew like, I don't know, which people to talk to or whatever. But yeah, I agree with Letty. It can be very disheartening at times, but I think it just try to lead with kindness and try to lead with your best foot forward and, just try your best.
I think there's always going to be competition, obviously, with everything. People are competitive, but I came from the Central Valley of California, and down there, it's very much competition. Like if you're a photographer, you don't want to give out secrets to other photographers kind of thing. And when I moved over here to the coast, it was like, Derek, you guys know our community around here. It's much tighter than most areas that I've at least heard. And it's been nothing but help because the majority of our bookings come from people word of mouth as well. So I think there could definitely be a good relationship with content creators, and especially if they are providing things to us as well as the couple, because a lot of them I know will send the vendors a Dropbox of videos, and all of a sudden now I have clips of myself from the day to make my own reels. And that's a huge help because we forget to do it sometimes, or we can't afford to pay somebody to come follow us around. So yeah, I think there's definitely plenty of room for like the community aspect and just kind of helping each other out. And I like Vivian's way of like her style of content creation, which is, during these moments whipping around and getting the people in the back that are watching, because a lot of times we can't just whip the camera around and get that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely a balance to be had there. And the more we work together and learn what each other are doing and learn what each other's roles are, the better it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, facts. I feel like we collab with the content creators. I mainly do photo now, but when I did video, I feel like I wouldn't be insulted by them. I feel like the collab was good because I worked with one not too long ago and she made all these little reels and, was like tagging me in all of them. And I shared them and people loved it. Everyone was like commenting on it and saying things. And I feel like it helped me out because I also got my business more eyes on, from everyone else, because I feel like the content creators get more views, obviously, than if you and I were to do like a highlight film, a little teaser and put it on IG. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't really blow up as much. And the social content creators, man, they blow up quick. So that
Well,
actually
and
helps
that's
us out.
yeah, and I completely agree. And I think that's and so happy you mentioned that, because content creation goes far beyond just taking videos on your phone. You have to be very creative, strategic with hashtags. You have to do research on what's
Yep.
trending, what sounds, what
Right.
deliverables, and everything else that plays into content creation. We don't just take videos, you guys. We have to hone into our strategic skills, go on Google, use AI. We have to figure out, hey, tell me what's trending on Instagram today, what hashtags. Like, these are the things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. We have to be on social media for hours on end before we even have the opportunity to post the video. And the reason why is because we want to make sure it goes viral, not just for like us and our service, but because it's content. That's the beauty of content. We don't just post to post anymore. It's now a business. It is all about strategy. And I think that is where the huge disconnect is. And so I'm honored when I have a videographer pay me by the hour to capture content for them, because they know that it goes far beyond just posting a video. It's about strategy, making sure we can promote them using all of these hashtags, using all of these tags, tagging them in the video as well. So it's a lot more than just capturing videos.
Yeah, see, I think that's what we forget as photo and video teams, that we don't look at the content creator as, like you mentioned, more than just a little fly behind us, just buzzing around. You guys are like actually doing like your homework in the back end. Like you said, the trends, the hashtags, the style of what's, I guess, going nowadays. I mean, that's huge. So
yeah,
when
and
it
a
comes
lot of
to,
that we could ask them too, you know,
Yeah.
and learn that. So I think there's a disconnect there where, you know, as photo and video, we're just like, oh, we got to do more posts, and and I just call up my content creator friends and just ask them what's like the best, like, you know, what's the algorithm right now? What's a song I should use? And they're like, okay, this is what I use. And so it's like, I think it's better to have that relationship where we can help each other out grow, you know, like you said, so community over competition for sure.
And I will say that must be why the wedding industry is so controversial today, because we've blown up so quickly, and it's because of strategy. It's because of what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's not just because we post videos. It's because we post videos that are muted with an overlay of a sound, but then we use a different sound because that sound is trending, but the sound on the video isn't muted. You know, like, you have to be very creative. And there's a lot that I can't use DaVinci Resolve to save my life. Okay. I can use Instagram. I don't know anything about Premiere Pro. I can use TikTok. I don't know anything about Lightroom Pro or any other platform and software that you guys use. Listen, I tried to download it one time. I'm going to be very honest. I couldn't even download my clips because it is so difficult. But anything else on my phone, I can do it. You know what I mean? It's very, very different. Very different.
Yeah.
So I do want to, yeah, Vivian, go for it.
Sorry, another little point too. Like, I'm sure like most wedding content creators do this, but like we tag all the vendors as well. So if you guys want to look at it as like one less thing to like on your to-do list to check off, like we'll make that teaser for you that'll come out in like 24 to 48 hours, and that'll get everyone's appetite wet for like your photo.
Yes.
And then that way you don't have to worry about like staying up all night to do the teaser. Cause like, that's what we're doing. Like I'm staying up all night till like the wee hours of the morning, uploading things into Google Drive and then making their reel and doing all those things. So if there's another way to look at it too, it's like, you know, if you guys are annoyed of doing it, like just wait for us to like tag you.
Let us know.
I like to collab, like, and if you want to be tagged on your thing, ask them to like collab it so it'll show up on your profile, so it'll show up on yours so people know like you worked there. And then when you post your photo and video, then like obviously people will see your work. But that's how I like to like say it too. It's like, oh, I'm gonna post a reel and I'll tag you guys, and they're like, oh my god, yes, love, and like I don't know.
Dude, I like that. So you basically are like the appetizer, and then they're just waiting for the main course afterwards.
Exactly.
That's just
you know, exactly. Yeah.
And
I love
all
that.
advertising is good advertising.
For sure. So I want to jump in and say about the competitive thing. I feel like the only thing I could see it being competitive is maybe for new videographers that are in the biz and they are in the same price point as maybe what you guys are now charging. So they have to,
Oh, I see.
now they're in the situation of that couple is like, do I want to pay for this videographer or do I want to get this?
I've had couples where I've sent them a content creator because their budget was not like, enough for what we charge. And I was like, well, maybe you should look into content creation if you just want footage. And we actually had a bride this year who went with the content creator over us, and it was one of my friends, and I was happy for her. Obviously she didn't, had the funds, or she didn't see the value in what we were doing. So it's better that we don't work with them, And so I think that's how we look at it.
I feel like someone mentioned it earlier, like upping your game or something like that. I feel like that's kind of like what sentiment I'm thinking of. It's like, even for me, there's so many content creators out there that like, that's why I decided to delve into like having a certain style. Like if you look at my fingers, I look crazy every time because on the iPhone, every time you stop recording on a clip, it'll re-brighten again. So every time I'm ending a clip, I'm lowering the brightness and zooming into 3. So it's like, I guess it's like for the new videographer, that's like, you got to like up your game because there's content creators out there. And for me, so many content creators out there, you got to up your game and have a style or be strategic, like Letty said, and do all these things. It's like everyone just has to up their game because like the new annoying sister's in town and she's kicking out the door. So it's just, everyone's got to up their game a little, I think.
Well, you also have to look at it too from a video perspective. I mean, we're shooting, horizontally. So we may be putting up vertical clips here and there, but I'm not selling my whole film vertically, and so, and I don't know any content. I've never worked with a single one that shoots not vertically, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so like a wedding planner is not going to hire, like a big wedding planner is not going to hire a content creator to do BTS for her of her and all her decor. She's going to hire a videographer because she wants that wide shots. So she put on her website, or he could put on her website. And so I feel like, at the end of the day, it might look similar to video, but there's really no competition in the sense of they're both competing for two different things,
Exactly.
Like I would never shoot a wedding vertically with my camera. That's just something that's never going to happen. Now, do I have corporate clients, or do I have like live events that'll hire us and want a vertical clip and they want a horizontal clip? Absolutely. And we have ways of, like, my camera will shoot in both, so I can crop it. Like there's a mode I can shoot it in. And so things are changing, but still they're paying for the horizontal. And sometimes when they want just a vertical and they're hiring me and paying me well to do a corporate shoot or something, that's fine for me. I don't mind, but they don't want it on a cell phone. They, at that point, they want to come in with a camera. So I don't know. I feel like they're very different.
Audio too. I mean, we've got all the money in the audio gear as well, and you're not going to get that.
No, they're never going to lava
is the video gear
client.
So that actually brings me into my next topic. Thank you so much, Adam. So I want to get into technology and equipment. So to my videographer guys here, what type of content creation equipment would be crossing the line for videographers?
I mean, I guess it would maybe the audio kind of thing, but I don't know if that'd be considered crossing the line. But
can I ask a question? Like, what, like Amazon, they have those like little, actually, never mind. I just answered my own question. Never mind. Ignore that. Because I figure like if video's there, then we're just going to like, it's like just, I'll tell the couple, no, use their audio. Because I'm thinking of those stupid little like Amazon things.
The DJI.
Things, but then I'm like, no, never mind. So ignore me. Cut this part.
Yeah.
I mean, if it comes down to a content creator capturing audio like that, I think then you're going back to the style. Like, what is that couple hiring them for? And for us, couples are hiring us for the audio, for the storytelling that we put into our videos, for the clean sounding audio from the ceremony. So that's the big part of our videos is when it comes to like the beginner videographers or whatever. You can no longer really be a beginner videographer in the wedding industry because of the content creator. So you have to step it up automatically by purchasing the proper gear and coming in fully prepared. Because I see
learning how to use it. Yeah.
I see too many people like learning videography at weddings that they're already charging for. And
Yeah.
you end up with
Mhm.
the scratchy cutting out audio or whatever that they got off their camera mic. Like, you're at that point, I feel like you're doing a disservice to the couple.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
100%.
yeah.
But I tell everybody in the industry, like whether you're a planner, content creator, photographer, like always work for someone first.
Mhm.
Like that's the
Mhm.
best way to learn.
Get that
Yeah.
experience, make sure your equipment's proper and ready to go. Like, I wouldn't shoot a wedding these days without a camera that dual records.
Yep.
Because one SIM card fails, you've got to have, or SD card fails, you got to have that backup SD card. So yeah, things like that. I feel like a wedding is a couple's like most important day ever, minus having a kid afterwards. And so if you're charging them money to capture that day, you should be fully prepared for anything that goes wrong. And you should have that experience, whether by working for somebody or working free weddings for couples that can't afford an actual videographer. That's how we all built up back in the day. And nowadays, equipment's so easy to get a hold of. People are like, oh, look, I'm a videographer now with this nice camera I just bought. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's another thing of stepping up your game, I guess.
Dude, Adam, I like
So-
how you mentioned that the new videographer can't even be a new videographer when they approach the wedding industry, because if the content creator is already doing that, and if they did audio, that would be pretty brutal. But if they did, then that person has to come in full blazing, knowing how to do everything right away.
Yeah,
Well, I think
very interesting.
it's like the new videographer can't come in like they used to. I mean, they can still come in and still work for somebody for like a year and
Yeah.
do styled shoots and get the right equipment. And there's no way, at that point you could build a portfolio. I mean, that's what we did. Same thing. We did weddings for free, whatever. But I think I agree with him. It's different now. Back in the day, you could come in with like one camera, one lens, a lav mic, and I rolled like that for a year in my career, and it's I feel like technology has changed. The cameras everything's shooting 4K now. I mean, we shoot all in log because we try to match like our photographers' colors and whatnot. And things are video's looking more like photo now. Like that wasn't a thing before. Before, photo and video were like, that photo looks way better, and now they're getting closer. They're not overheating. They've got stabilization in them. There's all these different things coming out. So I definitely think technology has been changing. But yeah.
What you got over there?
I mean,
I see you thinking.
Yeah. Speak up.
Me?
Yeah. What it looked like you had something on your
So,
mind.
yeah. So I will say, I know quite a few content creators who do use audio. I don't use it personally. One, because I think it's just too much gadgets that you have to kind of like worry about. And
How do they use audio?
Yeah. What are they doing?
I think one of them, I don't want to say any names.
DJI mic.
So it is. I don't want to say any names, but I'm sure Vivian knows who I'm speaking about.
I don't know.
You don't have to say any names.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like,
the-
like telepathy. I don't know.
No, just describe the
So-
audio. Like what are
Like,
they
DM me on the
using?
side.
So they
You're the only
use
East Coast one we know.
Yeah, they
content
do
world.
use the DJI, but then they use the Sony 660, the slip. And
The little pen mic.
it's just a little slip. And I actually was at a wedding where 2 content creators were hired. I reached out to one content creator and she allowed me to tag along for content. So I was not the paid service. They were the paid service. I was just there to build my portfolio. And she luckily allowed me to be there. And I saw them with this weird little thing. It was like the size of my freaking pinky. And she was like, okay, I'm just going to have this like slip in. And I was like, what are we doing here? And she wound up capturing all of the audio. But I will say her videos are stunning because I think what makes film is audio. It is sound. Sound makes film.
So that's crossing the line. That would be crossing the line into the video world. Wouldn't that?
Oh,
wouldn't
how
you
is
guys
it
agree?
crossing the line if creativity is true to each? Creativity is different for every person. And so the way she used it with her friend probably wouldn't have been, I don't even know if there was a videographer there for one. That would have been, I do believe, crossing the line if there were a videographer hired. Absolutely, right? But at the same time, as a content creator, I'm inclined to say, but is it? Because creativity is different for every single we are all creatives. Every person on this call is a creative. We're using our mind. We're building our portfolio. We're being creative with sound, video, content. And so the way she would have used it probably isn't the same that a videographer would if there were one there. You know what I mean?
So I think that brings into question, sorry to interrupt you, but I think that brings into question, like, what is content creation then? Because technically, as a videographer, I am creating content, and I'm creating a video for you that we used to post on Instagram. So to me, when I think content, I think TikTok dances and reels and little things like that. But when you start adding audio and you start making a video out of it, are you a content creator or are you a videographer? Because being a photographer or a videographer doesn't really matter what kind of gear you have. It's what kind of creativity you put out, I feel like.
Sorry, can I make a distinction? I feel like we all agree, because Letty was saying too, like, if there's another videographer there, like let's say you were hired there with you and your wife, I'm going to tell her, like, if you want audio, ask your video team. I think the question is, like, if there's not a video, like, I'm also wondering with Letty, if there's only a photo team there, is there still a discrepancy? If there's no video, only photo, and I bring out whatever mic she said, is there still a discrepancy?
I think so, because what you post is what you're going to attract. So if you're posting stuff with audio and you're making it more like a video just because you're stepping it up because there's not a video there, I think that would be a disservice to your business, because then clients are going to start seeing, because anything we post, that's what we end up booking. So if we post certain styles or certain dresses or certain decors, those are the clients that book us almost right away, because the planners see that and photographers, and they go, oh yeah, that's their style. And so I feel like if you did that as a content creator, you'd be, unless that's something you want to do, you want to become like a videographer, content creator, and you want to be like the main like video person, but with like cell phones, which is, I know people that do that too. And that's a total viable business. I feel like you have to, like, coming from my own experience and what I've been taught over the years, and I've heard from other photographers as well, is like what you post is what you're going to attract. So knowing that, like, I would tell like content creators, be careful of that, because if that's something you don't want to do regularly and that's not your style, then I wouldn't offer it, or try to fill in a gap if the client's like, oh, we don't have a videographer, but can you get audio too and stuff like that. I think that would be putting yourself in a bad position, personally.
I guess I respectfully disagree, because I feel like maybe it's just because we're new, like, give this 5 years and we'll all 6, 7 of us will come back in 5 years. Because isn't this the same argument that photo made against video, shooting the same thing? I feel like audio, like, I get if there's another video person and they already have a mic, what's the point of me having my shitty mic, whatever, right? And if I
of course
want to up my game, then at that point you need to talk with your bride. And at that point, for me personally, I think that's not the hill to die on. Like, find another wedding that they're down or whatever, right? Or if you really want it, fight for it, whatever. But I feel like if there's not another videographer and there's just a photo, like, I'm not touching video, or I'm not touching photo really. This is a video aspect. And so I could almost see a discrepancy with like video, because like, yeah, if they have their own mic, I shouldn't be bringing my mic. Right. But even then, I almost kind of agree with Letty that, like, almost like it's something different. Like, even my shitty mic, sorry, I don't know if I could curse on here, but even like shitty mic, that might lend itself to, like, if your style is like that 90s camcorder shitty audio, maybe that's a vibe you're going for, and that's going to be really different than that clean cinematic movie style. So I guess like, as long as I guess the question if I'm allowed to pose to the group is, like, if you're clear with what you deliver and your bride is also clear with the rest of the team, then is there an issue? Because I'm not over here trying to like step on people's toes.
No, for sure.
Be over here, like, I feel like it's fine, because I feel like it doesn't cross over. But I'm obviously open to.
I think we're on the same page there. But in that case, I feel like if a content creator is using audio, the couple that's hiring them is not going to hire a videographer as well.
Right.
100%.
And if they do,
So I
then
think we
they
all
don't.
agree on that.
Yeah,
And
I
talk
don't
to
think,
them and figure it out.
yeah, and I think that's up to the videographer or content creator that gets hired to kind of explain that to the couple. Like,
Yeah.
Because they don't know. They're getting married for the first time.
Yeah.
They think it's fine, even with timeline issues of like all these discrepancies. Maybe as content creators, we can say to our couples, like, educate them a bit, because like they don't know. Like they're getting married for the first time and they're just like, yeah. So
Yeah.
you know.
One of the questions I always ask my clients is, do you have a videographer? I think that's like question number 2.
Exactly. Yes.
First is like, hey, tell me a little about yourself too.
Yeah.
Are you hiring a videographer? Yes or no?
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
Every time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we ask the same thing when we talk to our couples, and then if they do have a content creator, usually I'd say 50% of them are booked before and 50% of them are booked after. And so we try to have that conversation with them regardless. What kind of content creator are you looking for? And sometimes I might say, maybe this isn't the right fit for us because it sounds like you kind of want video, but you don't want video. Maybe you just want like clips and something that you can post, like, especially if it's a client who's like, oh yeah, I need all these reels on top of you shooting my wedding. Sometimes I'll sell a content creator instead of us because I just think it's not as good of a fit. The client actually wants something else. And to me, it's a disservice to just take their money just to take it when I can give it to someone else and I'm going to go get another job anyways,
Yeah. And I think just to piggyback off the difference. So I think whether, let's say, a client or a couple decides not to hire a videographer, a lot of that has to do with the quality of content that they want, right? So if they, let's say they want these trends like, oh, my name is H, and all these other like weird trends on TikTok and Instagram, and like, there's one popular one, but you get the idea. There's a lot of trends. And so if you have a couple that's very social media driven, like a lot of them are not necessarily maybe gonna want to hire a videographer because they want it to be more content driven with little clips of like their day and I also want to just add the reason why I think videography, well, specific to content creation became about was because 9 times out of 10 when couples ask for like, can I get the raw unedited clips? Y'all say no.
We sell them.
No.
We sell them. We're like, you want to edit them? You want to do some
y'all
reels?
Say no.
It's all you.
We send it all, baby.
We send it all. We don't care. We don't care. If you hear me in the back like, oh shit, or something like that, like we don't care because these are the memories that they want, the raw, unedited, true day memory. Whereas like you guys create a long film and it takes hours. I can't even imagine all of the effort and your back's just like sitting in front of a computer and like, all that stuff. Like I cannot even imagine. I
instead of like this.
I applaud you guys, but I'm probably going to have carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all getting something.
That's true though, because
from this industry,
we discourage, like, we'll sell you the raw for a big price if you really want it. But I discourage it in our company because half the time we're talking behind the scenes because I know I'm going to sync up that audio from the mics and I'm not going to put all that together to send the couple clips like you have video.
Yeah. And we're doing more documentaries. So I actually like the raw audio. I'm more like you two where I like it a little bit more raw. And so, but the only reason we charge what we charge for it is because all of our stuff's shot like in raw. So I got to color it all.
Right.
It's in a log format. So it doesn't look good until I color it. It's literally like grayed out. And so, I let couples know that, and I'll send them examples of because sometimes they're like, what are you talking about? Why would it be all look like that? And so, I feel like that day and age where videographers are really not selling raws is getting smaller and smaller because the more videographers I talk to, they're selling more raws because they're realizing that there are some clients that are tech savvy. They want to put together their own reels.
Yeah, and that's why we became so popular.
Leave money on the table. Yeah. I also think you became popular for 2 other reasons. I think content creators became big because everybody wants stuff right away, right? And content creators are pumping them out quick so they can show them. I don't care what any couple says. If they hire a content creator, people still like shooting their own stuff. You see bridesmaids all the time, groomsmen shooting things. people have an addiction to posting and shooting things, you know? And I think the second reason is videographers. I think videographers did a really terrible job. I talk about this all the time in my group of friends, and we do a really terrible job in the last, I don't know how many years, of giving content to florists, planners, photographers, any vendors on the day. There's so many florists I give clips to, and they're like, I've been doing florals for 20 years. No one's ever given me clips. I usually hire a content creator, or I'm doing my own content because nobody's, you know, and I've gotten jobs from big florists. So it's like, I think part of that gap is our fault, like as a video people. So, and that's why I always talk to video people, newer ones, and say, we got to step it up. That's the end of story. I also think it's because of the way that the world's going, right? Everybody wants trendy stuff. Everybody wants it now. So I think it's a combination of a lot.
Dude, Stephen, that's huge. So I think what you're saying is right. So the videographers, when it comes down to it, you guys need to step your game up, because those videographers or the content creators, they're going to be the vendors' best friends. They're coming, dude. That's crazy. So I wanted to ask too, to the content creators, are you defined content creator from just using your phone? And to the videographers, would it be crossing the line if they started using something like the new DJI Osmo Pocket Pro instead of their phone?
I think it's getting closer. I think the two mediums are getting closer and closer, because I mean, there's lenses. I've seen content creators that put lenses on their iPhone.
I do.
And I've told those.
I'm practicing with some. I'm looking at
and not to sound mean, I've told content creators in person that I've worked with, I was like, why don't you just buy a camera? My camera costs the same as that iPhone with all those lenses and the gimbal.
It looks different.
I know, but like at the end of the day, it's like
it's
almost like the same thing, you know. And so I feel like
vibe is different.
I feel like it's they're going to start getting closer and closer, and there's no way of stopping that. You know, obviously, if they come in with like a bunch of camera people and, you know, it gets crazy, they have like 4 content creators all with like digital cameras. That's going to get wild, and I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. But I think there's no stopping it. It's going to get closer and closer, and I really feel for like photographers too, because I know content creators that shoot film. I know content creators that bring a DSLR and take a photo too, which doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, right. So, but I think that all comes down to like who you're working with, who you trust. I mean, like all of our teams, we work together well. All of our photographers are close. All of my planners were all close, florists, everybody. So we know what we're getting into for 90% of our bookings. And so like, if there is a content creator, the planner's calling me and going, hey, there's a content creator. I don't know if you've heard of them. This is how they work. I'll make sure like everything's copacetic. Same with, you know, photo and all that. So I just feel like teams are going to start getting closer because there's like a new person involved. So I think those content creators that want to thrive are going to get in those teams. Because right now I'm seeing that in Orange County, we have a handful of content creators really doing well, and they're getting into those groups of people that want to keep hiring them. And then now they're becoming a regular part of the team.
So Vivian, I got to ask you too, do you and Letty, do you guys use cameras other than your cell phone at weddings?
Not at weddings. I only offer, I don't really like advertise this, but I have a DSLR camera that I work with my like business clients. So like track my Instagram and see who's my personal trainer client.
But for wedding day.
No, but that's why. Not for a wedding day. That's my whole point. Is like I would never bring a DSLR. That's just me personally. I'm not going to bring a DSLR on a wedding day. Just like how it's like the whole mic earlier, like the video. But then I mean, okay, that one's a harder no. The mic.
I was gonna say, is that almost the same?
Yeah, but then the DSLR one's like a hard no for me. I'm like, I'm not going to bring a DSLR to a wedding.
I think that the definition keeps coming back to what is your final product? Like, what is content creation versus videography? Are you putting out fully edited videos, or are you putting out reels and TikToks? Like,
it's actually like our next question. What do your clients typically expect from each of you, especially content creation?
My people, unless they request a transition thing, which like none of them have, like one girl has, like you'll see on my page, it's all like just what's happening, and I try to make it cute. But oh darn it, I was trying to pivot to my other answer, but I forgot. Letty, take it away.
I'm sorry,
Take
can
it
you
from
just
here.
ask the question again?
Oh yeah. So what advice would you give to couples who are trying to decide between hiring a content creator or a videographer or both?
Oh wait, advice you would give to hire?
Yeah,
Hire-
either or.
It's all a different perspective. Photo
Yeah.
is still, video is the movie, and then like video's not going to capture like your mom and like your bridesmaids like effing around in the background or like your people meeting. It's like it's all a different perspective. So have it all.
Well, so
Yeah.
how do you guys define content creation yourself? Like what makes you a
Good
content
question.
versus
Or I guess that makes me want to ask. Okay, I remember now. That makes me want to ask another question because it's like, does it matter? Like, as long as you're forthright in what you are creating with, does it matter if the couple at the end of it, like, because there's someone who I'm thinking of who, like, she makes films on her iPhone and she says
Yeah.
like I'm an iPhone filmmaker and there's people all up in her comments pissed off that she's doing that. And of course
Yeah.
it's different than if you say you are a videographer and you show up to the wedding day with your iPhone. That's messed up. Like people are
Yeah.
paying for that high ticket. So there's like that's what I see happening of like, well, I get this argument, but people are mad at like her creating beautiful films with an iPhone. So I guess my question back is like, is it upon us as the vendor, as long as we are forthright with what we are shooting with, and we're not on the day of stepping on people's toes and bringing the same equipment, isn't that the couple's choice, the client's choice? And they chose to have this person for this reason and this person for this reason. And they all curated their like custom little media team. And sometimes that involves a content creator that has different things, if that makes sense. I'm not there yet because I'm just sticking with my iPhone for now, but it's curious because like I guess yeah, even for me, I'm playing with different lenses. I'm playing around with shooting in Kelvin. Like I'm learning videography terms. I'm trying to up my
Right.
game, and that goes into like all of these other things. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, I am personally not going to bring the DSLR or do all that stuff on the day of, but like
What if?
I'm gonna up my game and try to like, yeah, I am. So I guess my question back to you guys is if the couple, as long as you just, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like it's the couple's, not like I'm trying to skirt responsibility, but as long as you also are very clear and communicate with your couple and reach out maybe to your media team if you really want to do all that, like as long as you have all your X's and T's, O's, whatever the phrase is it not up to the couple to determine? Like they are, at the end of the day, they get to choose. Right? Or I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
I think we just have to be responsible in like educating our couples. Like
Yeah.
what are we bringing? What is the final, like before weddings, we always have consultations with our couples and we let them know exactly like
saying.
this is how we film your ceremony. We have 4 cameras running.
Yep.
We have everybody mic'd up. During your toast, we're going to put a spotlight on you to make the light better for the video. Like all of this is up front. So I think with content creation, it doesn't matter what you're bringing as long as you kind of let them know, like, this is how I shoot. So like that girl that makes wedding films with her iPhone, I think I know who you're talking about, or at least there's one I follow.
Yeah.
It's great wedding films. And she calls herself a filmmaker, not a content
Right.
not a content creator.
Right. That's why I asked, because people are mad that she's even doing it, even though she's saying she's a filmmaker. So that's why my question was like, is
So
that real?
That's where sorry to interrupt. That's where I was saying earlier though, like technology is catching up. Your cell phones are catching up pretty quick. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I think photographers have been shooting themselves in the foot lately with the AI and stuff, because it's all over the internet on how easy it is to edit a photo now. Like there is programs
Yeah. Oh,
and edit your entire wedding gallery in a couple hours
good
versus,
point.
so why am I still charging $4,000 when the AI program I paid $30 a month for is doing all the
Oh my
work?
gosh, let's cut this part.
Yes.
Let's cut this part.
Quick question about AI though. So if AI edited so how much of your wedding day is editing? Like if you're shooting 8 hours, how many hours are you editing for?
I probably put 8 to 16 into a wedding, just touching people.
So you're basically cutting your work in half.
Yeah.
by doing
So,
AI. So like for what I'm getting at is for us to edit a video, if I had AI doing it for me, I would be like, okay, cool. I work 2 days a week.
Exactly.
Like I
Yeah.
might go shoot 2 weddings in a weekend,
Yeah.
that's
3
great for
weddings a week,
us.
and then not have to. Yeah, I might charge a little different because of that. But now I got free time at home. Now I'm not like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not sitting at home for 12 hours a day editing.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I
it's
think it's
great
just
for
going to
us,
change the
but
landscape.
Yeah.
I think good point. Yeah, like you're cutting the editing time, you're getting more free time. But I mean, you can still only shoot so many weddings a month. There's
But
only
you said it yourself not that long ago. What are they paying for? They're paying for your expertise, right? You were talking about how you're paying to know what happens in those situations when the lighting goes wrong or when they drop this or things don't go on schedule. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And if you talk to anyone who's making money in the wedding industry, who's been in it for a long time, and you work with them, like you can tell the difference in their expertise. And that's what people are paying for at the end of the day, especially once you get like into a certain market, people are paying for you. I mean, there's a reason why there's photographers that charge 100 grand a wedding.
yeah,
Or, you know, it's like they're not getting 100 grand a wedding because then they use AI too, those same photographers. And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, like
lighting.
it comes down to like your reputation, it comes down to how you work, and it comes down to your expertise. They're paying you what you're worth in your expertise because you know how to like handle any situation or handle all difficult situations. They're not paying for like, oh, how fast you edit. I mean, I know editors that can edit their whole gallery in like 4 hours by themselves. And I know people that takes them a month, you know, it's like, so how do we quantify that? You know, like, so at the end of the day, like what we should be selling the client is our expertise, you know, is not saying like, oh, well, AI is doing my job or AI is doing this. You know, at the end of the day, they want to hire someone. They don't want to hire a robot to do their stuff. And right now, photographers are making the same money and they're using AI and they got their whole week off. You know what I mean?
The irony.
So like, so it's
Yeah.
like, and couples haven't caught on fully yet, right? And so I just feel like things will always change, but at the end of the day, like your experience, how many weddings you've shot, like everything you've seen and know how to handle, that's what they're paying for at the end of the day. And sometimes clients won't know that till they see you handle it. And that's happened to us where we've done things, you know, for instance, like someone's putting on a dress and they're about to go lean up on a wall and I'm wiping the wall down because I'm like, that's a $10,000 dress or it's a $15,000 dress. It's not going to touch that wall, you know?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh God, this is why we hired you, you know? And I've heard that from, you know, so it's like working enough, you just learn these little things that are going to make you have value to that client. And at the end of the day, if they're looking at you and saying like, oh, well, you can AI, it's probably not your client. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day. Because it's just like me hiring a plumber. If a plumber comes in and he's like, oh, I got this new tool. For instance, this is a perfect example. We had a slab leak in our house. So that means the pipes under our house were leaking. There's water everywhere. This guy came in and he said, okay, we can tear your floor apart and we can put in new piping. It's going to cost this much. It's going to take this long. Or we got this new tool that shoots this like liquid that'll coat the wall of your piping. And we give you like a 20-year warranty on it. And I go, cool. How long is it going to take? And he goes, well, it's going to take like about 2 minutes. But I didn't look at him and go, oh man, the other one would have taken, you know, a week. This takes 2 minutes. Like, I'm not going to pay him that, you know, like we were like, no, cool. If it's faster and it works, let's do it. Like we want to get our pipes running, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like I trusted him because he's like, I've been using this technique for like the last 7 years. It's newer, but we've done like so many houses. If you want to reference, like, so it's kind of like that where it's like, I want them for their expertise. I wanted him to fix the problem or have a solution to the problem I had. Like I wasn't going to sit there and go, oh, well, it took 5 minutes. Like he should get paid like $20. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's that instant gratification that you even said earlier. That's what everyone wants, right? So I could also turn back and say, well, why is there so much competition? Because if the instant gratification is what the couple wants in terms of hiring a content creator, why is that an issue? Why does it matter if we post a reel before you guys post your teaser? Why does it matter if we post something that's really, really good in quality? And I think a lot of that just has to do with A, personality, 2, insecurity, and 3, just no collaboration, right? We're all creatives. We're all creative directors on the day of a wedding. And so I completely agree with every word you just said. But I think that also should be accounted for in terms of hiring a wedding content creator, a videographer, and just collaboration as a whole.
I love everyone's answers here, but I have to ask for my clients or any client that's listening to this. So what was the advice that they should take away from that whole spiel? So again, the question was, what advice would we give the couple who are trying to decide between hiring a content creator and a videographer? What was the advice?
My advice would be know what the end product is that you want. Like, what is it you're looking for? So clients come to us and they just want like a simple highlight video with just music over it. That's not our thing. We might pass you on to somebody that does it. And if somebody comes to us for that long format video or that, they want their full ceremony and toast recorded really nicely and stuff, like that's what we do. We will provide that for you. And we're sure to show our clients galleries and things like this is what you're getting at the end of the day. So I think it's just when you're picking your vendors, like know what you're getting. If you want real content and clips from throughout the day, like there's where your content creator comes from. Or if you want this like really nicely put together long format video that captures all of the vows and the ceremony and the toast and all this stuff, like that's where your videographer comes in. Just knowing what your final product is.
Yeah, I do agree. But I also do just want to add, I think also just educating the couple, right? Like they're not in the industry. They don't know how we go hand in hand. And within the first like 3 minutes, every time I have a consultation with my couple, I say, do you know the difference between a wedding content creator and a videographer? And when they say no, I give them the spiel. I do delivery within 24 hours. And I deliver in the form of a Google Drive, and you get all the clips. I shoot anywhere between 500 to maybe 700 clips. You get all of that unedited, raw, the very next day, and you get to relive your day. And the videographer, they edit, they put a lot of detail into it. We don't really do any of that. The only few moments I will say that we do that is when we are creating content, right? And so I know you had mentioned earlier, so then how do we define content? Content is not just about strategy, it's just like details, right? Are you going to, some of you guys wills, are you gonna zoom in 3 and like get the fingers, like with the jewelry and everything else? Or like, let's say you see the bride and she's so anxious and she's like taking deep breaths and she's just like, that's typically like not something that you capture in a nice cinematic video, documentary style, whatever the style is. I don't think that's typically, if you disagree, definitely just go ahead and add, but I don't think those are the moments that it's really captured. And so what I like to do is I'm very detail oriented. I explain that to my couple. I want to make sure I get the moments. I want to get a little clip of the veil, the back, and not just like the moments where the videographer is zooming into the mom buttoning their daughter's like dress or anything like that. But like, I'm very detail oriented and it's driven by detail. Whereas you guys are like, it's everything, right? Because everything is important. Thousands of dollars went into this day and everything else. Sure, you guys are also detail oriented, but I don't think you guys are like zooming in the way we do to kind of make it a pretty film, and you know what I mean? So I guess that's my advice, is just to educate the couple, explain and express that we are very different, but we should work together. And I actually had a consultation yesterday, and one of the worries that the bride mentioned was like, of course, not the videographer, but the photographer. Are you going to hire a content creator? Because I typically don't like working with them. And that's what they said to their client, who's considering a content creator. Could you imagine what position that puts me in?
Yeah.
And so then I have to then go out of my way and kiss ass to get the job. I'll have to say, okay, well, if you don't mind, if you're okay with it, like, I'd be more than happy to reach out to this photographer and like introduce myself. obviously the intention is there. It is to do that on the day of. But in terms of needing to go out of my fucking way to do that, like, come on. I'm sorry. I'm also a paid service. And I will not apologize for doing my job and being in the same room and taking space. I understand that we seem to get in the way. Everyone seems to get in the way, but I'm not going to apologize for being there because I'm paid to be there and talk.
I guess if I can jump in there, like respectful, not disagree even, I would say my only thing with that is like, I do, if anything, if they seem like they are going to give me issues, that gives me green light to like, to actually do the communication ahead of time. And
right.
I don't look at it as like kissing their ass. You honestly, like content creator, you just know like they're not going to be easy to work with, but it's going to make your life easier. Or I don't know. This is how I look at it. I feel like if you like come in with like not that you're coming in with the same energy, but like kind of like not make them feel stupid. But do you know what I'm trying to say? Like yeah,
I hear you.
It comes out, it comes from an insecurity when people act like that. So I feel like when you come in and you're so professional, you're so nice, you sent the email, like you did all the things that you didn't have to do. But there are some things maybe this is a personal thing. We are new in the industry. That's why my analogy was like little sister. I believe in paying your dues. And I believe that like, yeah, there's some people, can we curse on here? If you can't, sorry, bleep me. There's some people that you know you're not going to fuck with, and just know moving forward, like you're not going to fuck with those people. But I still feel like we're still very new in terms of like the history of wedding. Like we really picked up in 2020. It's been like 4 years. There's even like people who are so nice, but they have never heard of a content creator. I'm like, have you been living under a rock? But there are just some people who don't even know what we are. So yeah, we're going to have to like explain. And that's the only part that's like the paying your dues part. I agree with you. I'm not about like apologizing for any of it, all of that we're a paid service as well. But I also feel like the industry as a whole, it's like you and I are chill, but like maybe like even in this group, there are people here who have worked with other content creators and it wasn't a great experience. Or even between us, we worked with photographers who it wasn't a great experience. So like, I think maybe like, just like, no, maybe you don't fuck with that girl. And also like maybe she had a bad experience with another content creator and just like it'll be your game to like turn it around.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm maybe a little bit of the opposite, where like if they seem like they're hoity toity, I like make it a point to be like, oh, you're going to be like that? Okay. Like I'm going to make you feel stupid, because not that that's my point, but you're going to feel stupid when I'm nice to you. And then honestly, other vendors are like, why are they being like that? Like it's very hard, like everyone's saying, the wedding industry to not be a team player. So that shit's gonna get off real quick. And there's also always a caveat, because like, there are like some photographers, like the celebrity ones, who like, it doesn't matter, it's their show, so fine. Like there are those people, but like you never work with them on a daily basis anyway, right? And like you're not working with them all the time. So I'm getting long-winded, but my point is like I feel like we still need to do it even if we don't want to.
I completely agree.
But I agree with you, because you just know some girls or some people, you just don't F with them, right? Like you just know, like don't refer them. You don't want to work with them. They also burned a bridge with you. Like you're like, right? Like they also F'd it up with you as well. And now they're not going to get referrals from you either. So it's just kill them with kindness and make them look stupid is my strategy.
You're nicer than I am.
And I just add to, like, at the end of the day, when it comes to the wedding, you are there to serve the couple and to make sure that they
F them
as best as it can. So all vendors are on a team at the end of the day. And so, I mean,
I'm like, F them. He's like, we're on a team.
I mean, I totally get it, but like,
no, I get it.
We've had one or two photographers where I'm like, at the end of the day, I freaking hated them. But same time, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to work around them and just get what I need to get. And I think the same just comes down to like whatever couple's hiring you. Like for us personally, like I said earlier, we are a team, photo, video. We also do social media reels with the video packages. So far, none of our couples have actually found the need to hire a content creator. So if that's the service you're offering, like hopefully no offense to you guys. Hopefully we don't have to compete with you, so to say.
Hopefully we never meet. We're never at the same way.
You know what I mean? But like,
You don't have to fuck with you.
At the same time, like we just did a wedding where we were hired for just photo because their friend did video, and he's like trying to get into weddings and stuff, which well, I wish they would have hired us, but at the end of the day, like we want their wedding video to be great no matter what. And while we're working with this guy, no matter how many times he gets in front of my way, I'm going to help him out. Like I'm going to give him advice where he needs to, or let him borrow a mic so he can get better audio because he didn't bring his, whatever it may be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think
you're going to heaven.
We need to take that on with content creators too. And, you know, hopefully they come back and send us some behind the scenes that we can use for reels later or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, this has been great. You guys have been going off the chain over here. Vivian just came in strong. That was
Did
nice.
I?
Love that. Did Vivian?
Threw 'em all,
Yeah,
Vivian.
Sorry.
the city girls came out. Woo, I love it. But this is a question for you guys, for you guys to like kind of feedback off each other. So do you have any final thoughts or tips for each other on how to improve collaboration between wedding content creators and videographers? So anyone could start that off.
I think that's a question more for the videographer, since that's where the issue is coming from.
I know. Don't be mean to us. Don't be mean to us.
I thought it was coming from photo. What happened?
We love you guys.
There. It's mostly coming from photographers so far, but I don't know. I think it's just the education thing and just kind of everybody getting to know their place in the industry and like what's at the end of the day, like I said earlier, we're doing long form. Photo is kind of going back to film. I feel like photographers have a big advantage knowing film photography. And so you almost see things like everything always comes full circle, whether it's clothing or photography, like content creators, I think have a place at least for the next 5 years until TikTok goes away, and who knows what's going to come next. Like,
or we go vintage with pagers and then
virtual reality is next. So we might be having this conversation again soon when another guy comes in the scene and he's doing virtual reality. So now
literally, yeah.
100%.
Like, what's this VR bullshit?
Yeah. That's actually a thing.
Doing one with video or VR this weekend.
Yeah, Jade's actually doing one this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, there's I just listened to VR podcast. That's why I thought of that. So
that's so funny.
I think that's really interesting. And if you're going to be a business owner in the wedding industry these days, you have to stay on top of these trends. And I mean, people are going to get pushed out. Older heads are going to get pushed out because they don't want to conform to whatever's going on. And the newer generation is always going to be coming up and taking over and whatever's going on, because at the end of the day, it's 20 through 40-year-olds that are mostly getting married. So once you're past 40, and if I'm 50 years old shooting photography and I don't like the trends and I don't want to keep up, say goodbye to business. I better go find out.
Yeah.
So we just all have to work together, and community over competition as proof on the Central Coast, I feel like has always been a better option.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with him on that. Just a word to our fellow content creators is, you know, it wasn't that long ago I was in video and it was a new thing. It felt very weird to show up to a wedding and photographers been like, I've never worked with a videographer, or I've worked with like 1 in 10 years or 1 in 7 years. And so just advice is just like push through it. People can be a little rough, and because you're the new kid on the block, you know, there's going to be a lot of growing pains, but at the end of the day, it's a big industry. And like, I think content creators are here to stay. They're definitely, I see their place in the market and I respect them for it. And I think that, I feel for you. Like, I empathize with you, like feeling like you're the add-on, you know, and not the main, you know. For years it was I think this year and a little bit of last year was the first time that we were getting paid as much as the photographers we were working with. And I've never been one to sit there and be mad about it. I know photographers do a lot, especially the ones we work with, building the timelines, picking the places to shoot, the lighting, making all the logistics happen on the timing side. So I get it. But I mean, there was a time where all our photographers were making 40%, 30% more than us, and there were a lot of videographers who were pissed off about it, but times have changed. Now it's starting to get closer, and so just a word of advice to like all content creators, like we're all on the same team. But we know, like as videographers, we know where we're coming from. Like we started out as the new kids on the block and we had to prove ourselves. And it was I feel for both of you. Like I can sense the frustration, and we definitely went through that. Sometimes we still do, but it gets better. You just got to keep like defining your role, because what you're doing right now seems silly to some people, but in 5-6 years from now, it's going to be normal. And when I started video, people were like, is this a thing? Like, is video going to be around? Like, do all clients want video? And now it's like planners are telling me we can't even think about doing this wedding without video. Like, it doesn't even make sense, So that was not that long ago for us. So yeah, that's what we'd have to say. But yeah, community over competition, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I would love the opportunity and I guess my issue has never been with videographers. It's typically more with photographers. And I think it's because of like what you said, their place in the industry. They've been around, they've evolved for years and years and years. But right. My issues have been specific to photographers. When I'm with videographers, we mesh, we vibe, we click. Their visions become mine. Sometimes I jump in. I'm like, hey, can you grab the dress, or like go a little slower, or like giggle while you're kissing. And then I have the videographer like, yes, that was perfect. That's exactly what I was going to say. And like, it really is and should be and supposed to be collaborative. Mm-hmm. In terms of competition, it's really unfortunate and it sucks and it's awful and very painful. And, gives me anxiety to even walk into a wedding and be in that kind of energy and environment. But again, it is a paid service, and it is just something that we have to kind of work through and work together to perform and give to the clients. Because at the end of the day, we're not there for each other. We're there for the client who is paying us. So yeah. Collaboration for sure.
I guess to piggyback off of everybody, I would say like content creators, like just to all of us, like have compassion for the industry because we're new and some people don't get it. And then to everyone else, we could be your best friend. We can like help you take BTS for you. Like we can take off that task list off of your like to-do list because you're already busy. So it's like to both groups. It's like, let's just like accept everyone.
We could work with you.
We could all
100%.
play along. We could all, be nice and hang out. But yeah, I understand content creators. It's like, it's frustrating, but like, we just give it 5 years. And like, literally this conversation is going to be so funny because people are going to be like, today when content were a thing. And then like we're saying, AI is going to come in and we're going to be like bitching about some AI thing. And it's going to be like, that's the new ugly stepsister. So it's just, we're the new freshmen. And the seniors are kind of picking on us. So you just gotta like just pay.
Yes, that's exact. That
semester is gonna like follow through. Like we're turning the corner. Yeah, we're about to enter second semester, and it's gonna be great. So
yeah, love it.
Yeah, you guys killed it. And like you mentioned, this is all love. This industry should be about love. So it's all about working with each other. And like you guys mentioned before, it's about the clients. The client paid for you guys to be there. There's no reason for any of you guys to be stressed or freaked out about the content creator, whoever. You guys are all winners in their book. So it should be that way throughout the whole day. So you guys killed it, rocked it. This discussion was hot and crazy and wild. But before we get off, let me have each of you introduce say where they can find you. So we'll start with Steven.
So you can find me on Instagram at Steven Dorn Films. And then my website is stevendornfilms.com. Dorn, D-O-R-N.
Nice. Vivian?
Hi, I'm Vivian. You can find me at Vivian Hana Socials. My Instagram handle is at viv.hana, Hana _socials. And I'm working on a website. So if you just go to my Instagram, my link in my bio is there, so you can find me on Instagram.
Nice. Adam?
Yeah. So you can find us at Mooncrest Media everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Haven't got on TikTok yet. I kind of hate it, but and then yeah, our website, mooncrestmedia.com.
Right, Letty.
All right, my name is Letty. You can find me on every single social media platform at ReelyBTS for Really Behind the Scenes. Website is also www.reellybts.com.
Awesome.
Nice. Steven over there, already locking everyone in. I saw him over
Locking
there.
them in, of course. The more the merrier.
Heck yeah. All right, guys, you guys killed it. Thank you again for taking the time to be on our show. You guys rocked it. Keep rocking the industry
Thanks
because I know
for
you
having
guys
us.
are being successful. Of course. You guys were a blast.
Awesome.
Wow.
It was so nice to meet you
Peace.
guys.
I
You
know
all
it
too.
was so
Me too.
good.